You attract what you believe you deserve. That may sound simple at first, but it is among the most powerful and misunderstood truths in all of human life. For what we believe about ourselves sets the thermostat for everything we experience, our relationships, our career, our income, and even our peace of mind. The world, you see, is not responding to our wishes. It is responding to our beliefs. And those beliefs are most often invisible to us. They are built, not declared. They are quietly shaped over years by repetition, by emotion, and by the environment we absorb. But whether conscious or unconscious, the beliefs you hold determine your destiny. You cannot outrun them, and you cannot rise above them unless you change them. And the good news is, you can. Think of the mind as a broadcasting tower. It sends out a frequency at all times based on the beliefs you hold most deeply, and life responds accordingly. The person who believes they are destined for struggle will attract struggle even if they work hard. The person who believes deep down that they are undeserving of abundance will subconsciously reject opportunities for it. And conversely, the man or woman who believes that they are worthy of peace, of wealth, of meaningful work, they will begin mysteriously to see the path unfold. This isn't superstition. It's one of the oldest, simplest, and most irrefutable laws in human development. Before we go further, I'd like to ask you, if you find this lesson valuable, if you feel something stirring inside you already, pause for a moment and consider subscribing. It's a small action, but it allows this message to reach others who might be one belief away from the change they need. Now let's return to this idea. You attract what you believe you deserve. This law governs the invisible world first. Before any material change, before the job arrives, before the income increases, before the relationship begins, it is the internal belief that gives permission for the external to arrive. In other words, the belief precedes the blessing. You may want something, you may even pray for it, hope for it, wish for it, but if you do not believe you deserve it, you will push it away. And you'll do it without even realizing it. You'll reject it politely. You'll sabotage it slowly. You'll make excuses. Because something within you will whisper, "That's not for me." And as long as that voice exists, no strategy, no effort, no opportunity can override it. This is why I often say it's not about what you want. It's about what you're ready to receive. And readiness isn't about timing, it's about belief. I've met men who've spent 20 years working harder than anyone else around them, yet they never seem to rise. Why? Because deep down they still see themselves as average. They see themselves as the worker, not the owner, as the follower, not the leader, as the man who supports the dream, not the one who creates it. And so that is what life delivers, in perfect harmony with the image they hold within. On the other hand, I've seen quiet men, reserved, even unsure of the details, begin to carry themselves with an inner calm, a confidence, a knowing. And sure enough, things begin to shift. Life begins to mirror their new identity. Now, how do we change what we believe we deserve? It starts, as all powerful things do, with awareness. Begin to ask yourself, not what do I want, but what do I believe is possible for me? When I think of wealth, do I feel excited, or do I feel fear, guilt, or resentment? When I think of success, do I see myself there, or someone else? Do I feel like an imposter, or do I feel at home in that vision? These questions are not just intellectual, they are diagnostic. They reveal the emotional wiring beneath your goals. And here is a truth you can write down. You cannot outwork what you emotionally reject. The body can move toward something, but the subconscious will always pull it back to what feels familiar. So the work begins on the inside, through repetition, through visualization, through emotional alignment. Start declaring to yourself, I am worthy of success. I am a vessel for abundance. I am safe with wealth. I am at peace with opportunity. I deserve love, rest, power, and progress. Say these things out loud, daily. Because repetition is the architect of belief. You did not build your current identity overnight, and you will not transform it overnight either. But with commitment, with focus, you will begin to rewire the very foundation of what you attract. Life will begin to shift around you, not because of luck, but because the universe mirrors the image we hold of ourselves. This is why the first step in changing your outer life is changing your inner standard. Not your outer appearance, not your resume, not your circumstances, your standard, what you allow, what you expect, what you believe you were made for. Most people think they will change when things get better. But the truth is, things get better when you change. Raise your standard, and your results will rise to meet it. Lower it, and they will fall. It is law. And that brings me to the first principle I want you to remember today. It's simple, but I ask you to write it down and comment it below. Not just for engagement, but to imprint it on your mind. I attract only what I believe I deserve. I expect excellence. I allow abundance. I welcome peace. Say it now. Write it below. Let it echo in your thoughts today. Because by the end of this journey, that will not just be a phrase, it will be a filter through which you see your life. It will be a compass. It will be your new operating system. And the rest of this message will give you the tools to build it. But it starts with belief. Not blind belief, but disciplined belief, earned belief, repeated belief, thought by thought, word by word, action by action. It starts with knowing, not hoping, that you were made for more, and that you can prove it to yourself starting now. When a man begins to align his beliefs with abundance, his entire relationship with effort changes. No longer does he strain under the illusion that success is earned solely through toil. He understands that while work is required, it is not the origin of wealth. It is the channel. The origin lies deeper in consciousness. Effort, when paired with clarity, becomes a joy. But effort without belief is torment. That is why we see men working themselves to exhaustion without ever reaching peace. They confuse motion with progress. But the truth is this: your work will only bear fruit to the degree that your mind is aligned with what you are planting. The soil must be rich, the seed must be clear, and the belief must be strong. Otherwise you may labor for years in the wrong field, never realizing you could have harvested more with less if only your vision had been pure. You see, the man who knows he is worthy of wealth walks into his work with a different energy. He does not chase, he creates. He does not hustle in fear. He moves in confidence. He does not beg for approval. He operates from clarity. His efforts are not random. They are precise, intentional, and magnetized by the spiritual current of belief flowing beneath them. That is the key difference between those who struggle endlessly and those who seem to attract success naturally. It's not luck. It's not connections. It's not timing. It is alignment. And alignment begins in the unseen world, in the quiet moments before action, in the internal dialogue we carry into every situation. That dialogue is either empowering us or draining us. And until we take control of it, we will always be at the mercy of external forces. Now listen carefully. Your thoughts shape your vibration. Your vibration determines your actions, and your actions determine your outcomes. But most people attempt to change their outcomes without ever examining the thoughts at the root. This is like trying to fix the branches of a tree without tending to the roots. The results may look different temporarily, but they will always regress to the original pattern. Why? Because the inner world has not changed. And that is why spiritual clarity, true clarity of purpose, of identity, of belief, is the foundation of wealth. A confused mind cannot focus. A scattered heart cannot commit. But a clear spirit, anchored in truth and guided by belief, moves like a laser. It cuts through noise. It sees past illusion. And it creates results with uncommon speed. Many ask, how do I know if I'm aligned? And the answer is simple. Examine your feelings. Are you moving from peace or from pressure? Are you guided by purpose or driven by fear? Do you feel pulled by vision or pushed by panic? Your emotional state is the clearest mirror of your internal beliefs. A man who knows he is walking the right path moves with calm certainty, even in the face of challenge. He does not rush. He does not doubt. He listens inwardly, and he acts outwardly. And the world in turn adjusts itself around him. Doors open, opportunities appear. People respond, not because he is loud or aggressive or manipulative, but because he is aligned, and alignment is magnetic. So the question becomes, what are you truly aligned with? Not what do you say you want, but what do your emotions and habits prove you believe? That is where the work begins. And the work is not complicated, it is consistent. It is a daily return to truth. It is choosing again and again to act from belief instead of fear, to move from clarity instead of confusion, to show up with certainty instead of self-doubt. This is what separates the wealthy in spirit from those who remain stuck. It is not talent, it is not background. It is belief applied over time. And the beauty of this truth is that it makes no exceptions. It applies to everyone. That includes you. If you've ever wondered why your progress feels blocked, examine your inner posture. Are you approaching life as a servant to circumstance or as a steward of purpose? Do you wait for permission or do you give yourself permission to rise? The difference is not subtle. It is the difference between hoping and knowing. And those who know, who really know, carry a presence that is undeniable. They may not speak loudly, but their energy is loud. They may not announce their goals, but their lives reflect them. They move in silence, but they leave echoes. That is the mark of a spiritually clear individual. And when such a person enters the world of business, creation, or service, they do not merely succeed, they transform. Let's return now to the idea of spiritual clarity as the root of wealth, because wealth is not a finish line. It is not a number. It is a reflection. It is the outer echo of inner order. When a man gets his thoughts in order, when he stops resisting success, doubting his value, or sabotaging his path, his life begins to reflect that inner peace. Money flows, opportunities increase, relationships improve. And it's not because the world changed, it's because he changed. The signal he is sending out has shifted. And now, life can finally respond. This is why the spiritual man often becomes the successful man, not because he escapes reality, but because he understands its laws. And one of those laws is this: you cannot receive what you resent. If you secretly believe money is bad, you will never allow yourself to have much of it. If you think success means losing your soul, you will unconsciously sabotage every breakthrough. This is not a flaw, it's a protection mechanism. Your mind will not allow you to pursue something that violates your deepest values. So if wealth in your subconscious is tied to guilt, greed, or betrayal, then your spirit will block it. Not because you are weak, but because you are honest. The only way to shift this is to rewrite the meaning, to see wealth as service, to see money as fuel, to see success as responsibility, and to realize that abundance is not the enemy of virtue, it is the amplifier of it. So here is your next spiritual law, and I want you to write it down and comment it below, not for show, but for transformation. Let this become your new belief, spoken daily. I do not chase wealth. Wealth follows my clarity. I move in peace, and I receive in power. Let it become your daily rhythm, your silent affirmation, your living prayer, because once you begin to live from this law, you will no longer force results. You will allow them, and they will arrive with ease, not because life got easier, but because you got aligned. This is the shift we are after. Not more hustle, not more noise, but more inner order, a deeper clarity, a spiritual upgrade that unlocks new levels of material success. And when you do this, when you let your inner life become more ordered than your to-do list, something incredible happens. Your work becomes more effective. Your relationships become more meaningful. Your rest becomes more restorative. And your wealth becomes more inevitable. This is the hidden path walked by the few, and it is open to all who will choose it. Most people never question the invisible agreements they've made with life. They walk through each day reacting to what appears in front of them, never realizing they are the authors of the script they follow. These unspoken agreements say things like, success must be hard, or people like me don't rise, or if I get more, others get less. These beliefs operate like hidden contracts, signed in childhood, reinforced by society, and left unquestioned for decades. But no belief is neutral. Every belief is either opening a door or closing it. Every belief is either building a bridge or a wall, and that's why spiritual clarity is so powerful. It allows you to see the invisible, to pause and say, where did I learn this? Is it true? And more importantly, do I want to keep living by it? The moment you begin asking those questions is the moment you begin rewriting your future. For what you believe, truly believe, sets the ceiling of your life. The spiritually awake man examines his beliefs as if he were examining a garden. He removes weeds without shame, he waters seeds without doubt, and most importantly, he chooses what he plants. He does not let the winds of the world fill his mind with random opinions, fears, or dogmas. He takes responsibility for the quality of his inner world, because he understands that the outer world is only ever a reflection of it. If you find yourself constantly stressed, fearful, jealous, or overwhelmed, it's not a flaw, it's a message. The soil has been neglected, the weeds have taken root, and your harvest, your results will reflect that. But the moment you choose to become the gardener again, the moment you say no more weeds, the transformation begins. It won't happen overnight, but it will happen, because all life responds to intention. Let us now talk about fear. Fear is the great fog that clouds our spiritual vision. And when you are fogged, you cannot move forward. You stall. You hesitate. You sabotage. But fear, when examined, is nothing more than a signal, a teacher. It shows you where your faith ends. It reveals the borders of your belief. That's why the goal is not to eliminate fear altogether. That would be unnatural. The goal is to see it clearly and choose courage anyway. Spiritual clarity does not mean living without fear. It means acting from purpose, even when fear is present. And the moment you do that, something beautiful happens. The fear begins to fade, like mist burned away by the sun. Clarity dissolves it, because fear cannot survive in the light of a focused mind. So when you feel it, name it. Then ask yourself, what belief is this fear attached to? And is that belief worthy of directing my life? If you're honest, you'll find that most of your fears are inherited. They are not yours. They were passed down by parents, teachers, media, or peers. You absorbed them because you were unguarded, because no one taught you how to protect your mind. But now you know, and knowing gives you power. It gives you permission to discard what no longer serves you. You are not required to carry the fears of others. You are not required to live by old stories. You are free to believe anew. And from those new beliefs, new results will emerge. This is not philosophy. This is law. As you believe, so it is done unto you. That truth appears in every sacred book, every school of wisdom, every successful life. It is universal, because it is rooted in spiritual mechanics. You are always planting. The only question is, are you planting consciously or unconsciously? Are you repeating inherited fears or declaring intentional truths? That is the defining choice of every life. And once you choose to plant with intention, everything changes. Because life does not need to be begged. Life needs to be aligned with. When your beliefs, your emotions, and your actions move in the same direction, resistance disappears. The world becomes clear. Your path reveals itself. And success, real, meaningful, sustainable success, becomes not a chase, but a consequence. Not a destination, but a natural result. This is what the wise have always known, and it is what you can begin to live right now. Now let's anchor this with another declaration. A new belief to plant, not just to repeat, but to embody. I choose clarity over fear. I plant beliefs that produce peace, power, and purpose. Write it below. Speak it aloud. Whisper it in the quiet hours. Because repetition is the chisel that reshapes the sculpture of your subconscious. And the more often you speak it, the deeper it goes. One day you'll wake up and realize you are no longer trying to believe it. You do believe it. And from that moment on, life responds differently. People speak to you differently. Opportunities find you faster. And you'll understand why. Because it was never about the world. It was about your lens. And you've changed it. Let's talk now about another hidden agreement. This one more subtle. It's the belief that clarity must come after success. That you'll feel confident once the money is there. That you'll be calm once the career is settled. That you'll feel peace once the relationship is healed. But that is backwards. Clarity comes first. Success follows. Calmness is not the result of outer control. It is the cause of inner alignment. You don't get peace from your environment. You bring peace to it. This reversal is one of the most powerful mindset shifts you can ever make. Don't wait for results to give you permission to feel worthy. Choose worthiness now, and the results will match. This is the art of becoming the person before the outcome arrives, and that's what the successful do differently. They don't hope to become, they decide to be, and life bends to that decision. When you walk in spiritual clarity, you stop seeking proof. You stop needing confirmation from the world. You begin moving from inner instruction. It may not always be loud, but it is true. It may not be popular, but it is powerful. And in time, the world will catch up. You must be willing to walk ahead of the evidence, to trust your direction before the applause, to act from knowing before the numbers appear. Because the moment you require proof, you've given away your authority. But the man who moves from belief moves mountains. He needs no validation, because he has already validated from within. And this, perhaps, is the rarest form of power on earth. So ask yourself now, not later, what am I building inside? What beliefs am I strengthening? What vision am I feeding? Because your future is not waiting somewhere far away. It is forming now in your thoughts, in your declarations, in your quiet assumptions. You are creating your next year right now, whether consciously or not. And the wise man does it consciously. He knows the cost of drifting. He knows the price of doubt, and he refuses to pay it. Instead, he invests in clarity, in belief, in alignment. And that is why he wins, calmly, steadily, and without chaos. There comes a time in every person's journey where effort alone is no longer enough, where no matter how hard they work, no matter how long they push, the results remain elusive. This moment is not a curse, it is a signal. It is life calling you to step into a deeper level of being, because effort without alignment is like pushing a boat with the anchor still in the water. You move, but you do not progress. And so the answer is not to push harder, it is to rise higher, to enter into clarity. Spiritual clarity means you know where you're going, why you're going there, and who you are becoming in the process. It means you are no longer moved by comparison or fear or the noise of the crowd. You move from truth, and when you do, the path clears, because confusion attracts delay, but clarity invites speed. Let us now explore a dimension of spiritual clarity that few speak of, the clarity of identity. You cannot receive what you have not become. The identity you carry, the silent image of who you think you are, either attracts your desires or repels them. A man who sees himself as just getting by cannot hold wealth. A woman who sees herself as invisible will remain unseen, no matter how talented she is. Identity governs experience. And spiritual clarity begins when we stop living from old names and start choosing who we wish to be, not based on the past, not based on the opinions of others, but based on vision, based on purpose, based on truth. Who are you? Not your job, not your role, not your resume. Who are you when all titles fall away? That answer is the foundation of all lasting success. The mind, you see, will always return to the identity it believes is safe. You can visualize new outcomes. You can set bold goals. But if your identity says, "That's not who I am," your life will always shrink to match that inner label. This is why change often feels like sabotage, not because the new goal is wrong, but because the old identity is fighting to survive. That is why transformation is not just about setting goals, it is about installing a new image of self. This is the work of the spiritually awakened individual. They do not just act differently, they become someone new. And from this new identity, new actions flow. Not forced, not fabricated, but natural, automatic, aligned. So, how do we change identity? It begins with the imagination. Not fantasy, imagination, the most divine tool ever given to man. Einstein once said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge." And he was right, because knowledge looks at what is, but imagination sees what could be. When you begin to imagine yourself as already aligned, already successful, already calm, already powerful, you are planting the seed of your new identity. The subconscious mind does not know the difference between a vividly imagined reality and a current one. It simply receives, and what it receives often enough it begins to believe, and what it believes it begins to manifest. You must begin to visualize yourself not as you are, but as you intend to be. See it, feel it, act from it, and speak from it. This is not pretending, this is creating. And the more you dwell in that image, the more your life will conform to it. This is how every transformation begins, not with external force, but with internal clarity. See yourself as confident, and confidence begins to rise. See yourself as capable, and doors begin to open. See yourself as abundant, and abundance begins to flow. Why? Because you are no longer rejecting the very thing you desire. You have become it. And what you are, you always attract. Let us not confuse this with arrogance. True identity clarity is not boastful. It is humble, because it is rooted in divine order. It knows, I am not God, but I am made in His image. It knows, I do not control the world, but I can command my direction. This humility does not shrink. It steadies. It quiets the ego while strengthening the spirit. And this is the posture from which power flows. Not noisy, not desperate, but calm, resolved, centered. The man who walks in spiritual clarity no longer needs to prove anything. His life is the proof. His presence is the confirmation. Now write this new declaration, this identity anchor in the comments below. I am becoming who I was always meant to be. I walk in power, purpose, and peace. Speak it, live it, let it shape your words, your walk, and your decisions. Because when you carry this clarity, your energy changes. And when your energy changes, your results follow. People will notice, not because you try to be noticed, but because clarity cannot be hidden. It radiates, it influences, and it invites the world to respond. Let us now explore what clarity looks like in motion. A spiritually aligned individual does not chase every opportunity. They do not fear missing out. They are not scattered. They are precise, selective, focused, because they are not trying to be everywhere. They are going somewhere. Their decisions come easier. Their direction is sure. And because of that, time seems to serve them. Life bends around them. Not because they force it, but because clarity orders chaos. This is the hidden advantage of the spiritually clear. They do not need to hustle for every inch, because alignment creates acceleration. Most people live in hesitation. They second-guess themselves at every turn, not because they are incapable, but because they are unclear. When you are unclear, every option looks tempting. Every path looks possible. And so you hesitate, you delay, you wait for a sign, but clarity removes that fog. It says, "This is the way, walk in it." And when you hear that voice, you begin to trust yourself again. You move, you commit, and the world responds, not with perfection, but with progress. And that is all you need, because progress creates momentum, and momentum in the hands of a clear soul creates miracles. And so I ask you now, are you willing to let go of the old identity? Are you willing to release the need for permission, for proof, for the past to make sense? Are you ready to choose fully, finally, and fearlessly the version of yourself that aligns with who you were always called to be? Because that is the turning point. That is the door, and on the other side of that door is the life you've glimpsed in moments, dreamed about in silence, and hoped for in prayer. It is not far. It is here, and it begins the moment you say, "Yes, I'm ready." Most people spend their entire lives chasing strategies. They collect tools, techniques, and hacks, believing that if they just find the right method, success will finally click. But what they fail to see is that strategy without clarity is like pouring water into a broken cup. No matter how much effort you apply, it leaks. And the tragedy is that most never stop to examine the container. They just keep pouring. More effort, more courses, more advice. But without spiritual clarity, nothing holds. And so they live in cycles. Brief hope, followed by confusion, followed by burnout. And that's because they are working from the outside in instead of from the inside out. You don't need more strategies. You need stronger alignment. Because when you are aligned, the right strategy appears. When you are spiritually clear, you begin to recognize what is truly for you, not based on desperation, but direction. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to glide? Their progress looks effortless, their breakthroughs almost natural. And yet others work harder, stress more, and remain stuck. It's not about luck. It's not even about intelligence. It's about clarity. The first person is aligned. They know what they want. They are not second-guessing. They are not entangled in internal contradictions. Their yes is yes. Their no is no. And because of that, life moves for them. Resources find them. People support them. Doors open, not by accident, but by spiritual law. And what is that law? What is seen is always shaped by what is unseen. Strategy serves clarity. Action follows identity. The internal must come first. This is why the most powerful thing you can ever do before starting a business, changing careers, entering a relationship, or taking on any new challenge is not to ask, "What should I do?" but "Who must I become?" Because everything you attract will match the clarity of that answer. If you carry fear, you will attract confusion. If you carry resentment, you will attract delay. But if you carry spiritual order, if you walk in peace, certainty, and vision, you will begin to move with speed and grace. Not because everything is easy, but because you are clear, and clarity shortens the journey. It strips away distractions. It silences noise. It protects you from wasting time on what was never meant for you. Let us speak now about the difference between pressure and pull. Many people live under pressure. They push themselves every day, not because they are called, but because they are afraid. Afraid to fall behind, afraid to be judged, afraid to lose status or momentum. But this kind of motivation cannot last, because pressure exhausts, it drains, it erodes your health, your joy, your focus. But when you are pulled by purpose, you operate in a different realm. You don't need alarms or anxiety to move you. You wake up with direction. You begin to live in flow, and flow is the reward of clarity. When you know who you are, when you know what matters, when you're not pretending or performing, you don't need to be forced. You want to move, you want to build, because your life has become a vessel for something higher. And so we must ask ourselves, what is pulling me right now? Is it vision or fear? Is it calling or comparison? This question matters, because the energy behind your action shapes the outcome of it. You may build something from fear, but it will feel hollow. You may chase success from scarcity, but it will leave you empty. But when you build from peace, when you move from love, when your action is rooted in clarity, you do not just succeed, you expand. Your results do not just impress, they sustain, because they are born from truth, and truth lasts. Here is a truth to write down, speak aloud, and comment below. Let it become part of your spiritual blueprint. I follow purpose, not pressure. I build from clarity, not fear. Say it again. I follow purpose, not pressure. I build from clarity, not fear. This is more than affirmation, it is instruction. It is the beginning of a new operating system, one that does not depend on force but flow, one that doesn't require exhaustion but alignment. And if you truly live this law, you will not only rise, you will remain risen. Let's return now to the idea of strategy. When you are clear, the right strategy is obvious. It does not come from overthinking, it comes from knowing. When you know who you are, what you stand for, what season you're in, decisions come quickly. You don't need 20 opinions, you don't need endless research, you know. And when you trust that inner knowing, your actions become powerful. Strategy is no longer something you chase, it is something you create. And others will begin to ask you how you figured it out. They'll ask you for your method, your formula, your secret. And you'll smile, because deep down, you'll know. It wasn't just about the steps, it was about the state, a state of spiritual clarity. This is why you must never start a journey from confusion. Confusion creates wasted motion. It sends you in loops. Clarity creates direction. It turns 10 steps into one. And this clarity is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is still. It is quiet. It is the whisper you hear when you get alone, when you stop performing, when you return to your truth. That whisper is your compass. It will never shout, but it will always guide. The only question is, will you listen? Or will you keep seeking external noise to drown out the still small voice within? And so I urge you, pause today, even just for 10 minutes. Get alone with yourself. Ask not what's urgent, but what's true. What season am I in? What matters now? What do I no longer need to carry? Because clarity is not just about adding, it's about letting go. Letting go of roles that no longer serve you. Letting go of goals that were never yours. Letting go of guilt that belongs to someone else. When you release the false, you make room for the real. And in that space, strategy becomes simple. Direction becomes clear. And wealth, real, rooted, purposeful wealth, begins to grow. There is a reason the phrase emotional baggage exists. Because emotions unprocessed do not disappear. They travel with us into our work, into our relationships, into our decisions. And over time they accumulate like dust on a mirror, making it harder and harder to see clearly. That's why emotional clarity is not separate from spiritual clarity. It is part of it. You must be willing to feel what is true so you can move forward in truth. Avoidance may feel like protection, but it is actually delay. Whatever you refuse to process now will demand your attention later, and usually at a greater cost. That is why healing is not weakness, it is preparation. It is how you restore your full energy, your full focus, your full magnetism, because nothing is more powerful than a whole heart aligned with a clear vision. Let's now turn inward once more and look closely at one of the greatest barriers to spiritual clarity, emotional clutter. Just as a cluttered home stifles movement, a cluttered heart stifles intuition. When your inner world is filled with unresolved frustration, bitterness, shame, or guilt, your clarity is compromised. You may have vision, but it will be blurred. You may have ambition, but it will be heavy. Why? Because emotions are energy, and energy that is not processed becomes obstruction. You cannot outrun what you refuse to feel. You cannot bypass what your soul still carries. The spiritually clear man is not the one who feels nothing. He is the one who feels fully, releases wisely, and lives lightly. He has made peace with his past. He does not carry the weight of old wounds into new seasons. And that's what makes him magnetic. He is not leaking energy through unresolved emotion. He is fully here, fully aligned, fully available for the future he is building. So how do we begin to clear emotional clutter? The first step is honesty. Sit with yourself without judgment and ask, what am I still carrying? Whose approval am I still chasing? What memory still stings when I think of it? These are not easy questions, but they are liberating ones, because awareness is the beginning of freedom. When you become aware of the emotional energy you've been wasting on anger, on regret, on resentment, you begin to reclaim that energy for your mission. And that reclaimed energy becomes the fuel for your next level. This is not spiritual theory. This is mechanics. Every emotion you release creates space for clarity. Every lie you surrender invites truth. Every grudge you dissolve unlocks new peace. That is the invisible work that produces visible transformation. Let me offer you a spiritual law for this part of the journey. Write it down, speak it, comment it below as a declaration of release. I release what no longer serves me. I am clear, light, and ready to rise. This is the mindset of those who ascend, not because they were favored, but because they chose freedom. They chose truth. They chose clarity over comfort. And as you begin to live from that place, you'll find that emotional resilience becomes your competitive advantage. While others are distracted by drama, you remain focused. While others are triggered by offense, you remain centered. While others are weighed down by the past, you soar into the future. You see, the world will always offer you reasons to stay heavy, to hold grudges, to feel sorry for yourself. But clarity is the choice to rise anyway, to move forward even with tears in your eyes, to believe in purpose even when the path feels unclear. That is not naivety, that is strength. The strength of those who know that life bends to the soul that refuses to bend to bitterness. And when you walk with that posture, you become unstoppable. Because the heaviest thing you can carry is a story that says you are stuck. But the moment you let go of that story, you begin to write a new one. Many think wealth is built by what you accumulate. But in truth, it's often built by what you let go of. The letting go of emotional weights. The letting go of false identities. The letting go of stories that no longer serve. That is the inner decluttering that clears the path for outer acceleration. It's not easy work, but it is sacred work. And it is work only you can do. No one else can feel for you. No one else can release for you. No one else can release for you. No one else can untangle your soul. But the moment you begin, life begins to respond. The burdens grow lighter. The steps become clearer. And the person you were meant to be begins to emerge, not from striving, but from shedding. The emotionally clear individual becomes spiritually dangerous in the best way. They no longer react. They respond. They are no longer controlled by triggers. They choose their energy. They walk into rooms and shift the atmosphere not because they force it, but because their clarity is contagious. People feel it, they trust it, and they want to follow it. This is the power of becoming clean on the inside. You no longer have to shout, you simply shine. You no longer need to defend. You simply live, and your life becomes a message louder than any speech. Let's now discuss forgiveness. Not the shallow kind, the real kind. Forgiveness is not saying it was okay. It is saying, I will no longer allow this to define me. It is the decision to be free. And freedom always precedes clarity. When you forgive not just others but yourself, you unshackle the soul. And a free soul sees far. It moves fast. It builds deeply. So if there is someone you must forgive, do it not for them, but for your future. And if the person you must forgive is yourself, know this: guilt is not the price of growth. Responsibility is take the lesson, release the weight, and step forward in grace. So I invite you now to take inventory. What emotional weight are you still carrying? What can be released today? Where can you make space for peace? Because that space is not emptiness. It is sacred room for the next chapter to enter. And that chapter is waiting. It is watching. It is ready. But it cannot enter a house filled with clutter. So open the windows, sweep the corners, release the past, and welcome your future with open arms and an unburdened heart. When a man is finally free from the weights he once carried, when his inner world is no longer fogged by fear, regret, or confusion, he does not just walk differently. He sees differently. His perception sharpens, his awareness expands, and what once seemed like coincidence begins to feel like precision. He meets the right people at the right time, ideas arrive fully formed, opportunities seem to unfold without strain. This is not magic, this is alignment. And alignment is the reward of clarity. The spiritually clear individual is not favored by luck, he is operating by law. And that law is this: when the mind is quiet and the heart is light, life becomes simple. Not easy, simple, because simplicity is the fruit of order, and when your inner world is ordered, your outer world follows suit. Let us examine the word simplicity for a moment. Simplicity is not the absence of ambition. It is the presence of focus. It is the removal of excess, the stripping away of distractions. It is what remains when you subtract everything that no longer matters. And what remains is power. Clarity gives birth to simplicity, and simplicity gives birth to velocity. You begin to move faster, not with chaos but with purpose. Your steps are fewer but stronger. Your goals are fewer but deeper. Your results are not scattered. They are surgical. You don't touch everything. You touch the right things, and because of that you grow, not through exhaustion, but through efficiency. This is where most people miss it. They confuse movement with momentum. They stay busy but go nowhere. They collect more but become less. They complicate everything, because they are unclear. But clarity produces confidence, and confidence leads to simplicity. And once you have that simplicity, your life begins to accelerate. You no longer need to prove yourself. You no longer need to be everywhere or impress everyone. You know what matters, and you give your energy only to that. That, my friend, is what it means to build from spiritual clarity, to cut through noise, to ignore distraction, to pour yourself fully into what truly belongs to you, and let the rest fall away. Now let's speak plainly about the cost of complexity. The more complicated your life becomes, the more fragile it becomes. Complexity is brittle. It breaks under pressure. It requires constant maintenance, but simplicity is strong. Simplicity is stable. It endures. This is why the most powerful lives are often the most disciplined ones. The most abundant people have the clearest standards. The wealthiest minds have the fewest commitments. And the clearest spirits are not full of noise. They are full of order. They do not operate from urgency. They operate from truth. And that truth is not random. It is cultivated. It is chosen. It is guarded daily through ritual, reflection, and refusal to be seduced by the chaos of the world. Now hear this law clearly and write it down. More importantly, comment it below to imprint it into your mind and spirit. My life multiplies when I simplify. My power is found in focus. This is not a motivational phrase. It is a compass. It is how you determine your next step. When confusion arises, simplify. When pressure builds, simplify. When everything feels urgent, simplify. Because clarity is not built in reaction. It is built in refinement. And every great transformation is the result of one great decision, to stop doing what no longer works. And what no longer works is trying to be everything to everyone. What no longer works is filling your day with tasks that lead nowhere. What no longer works is chasing opportunities that are not aligned with your identity. You must become ruthless about alignment. You must become intolerant of clutter in your schedule, in your mind, in your relationships. Because every inch of energy wasted on the wrong thing is energy stolen from the right thing. And when you are building a life of purpose, every ounce matters. Let me now speak to your future directly. There is a version of you waiting on the other side of simplicity. That version of you is not tired, not scattered, not overwhelmed. That version of you is precise, focused, calm, creative. That version of you moves like a force, speaks with power, lives with freedom. And that version is not far away. It is one decision away. The decision to subtract, the decision to clarify, the decision to stop chasing everything and start becoming someone. Someone whose life is not wide and thin, but narrow and deep. Someone who doesn't know a little about everything, but everything about what matters most. You do not need more hours. You need more clarity. You do not need more tools. You need more focus. You do not need more approval. You need more alignment. These are the things the world cannot give you. You must build them yourself, and once you do, you will be shocked by how fast things move. Because when the path is clear, the walk is smooth. When the target is obvious, the strike is clean. When your energy is undivided, your results become undeniable. And this is not reserved for a few. This is available to you if you are willing to make the trade. Trade chaos for clarity. Trade noise for stillness. Trade hustle for order. Trade complexity for focus. And watch what happens. Watch what you become. Because what you become is always more powerful than what you achieve. The achievement fades, the result changes. But who you are remains. And when that who is rooted in clarity, everything around you strengthens. Your business, your relationships, your impact, your peace. Because clarity builds everything. So I challenge you now for the next 24 hours. Simplify something, clear something, say no to something that once drained you. Create space, protect space, and in that space let your real self speak. Let purpose rise, let truth echo, and let that echo guide your next decision. Because this is how you rise, not in chaos, but in clarity. We've now come to the final truth in this journey toward spiritual clarity and lasting wealth. And it is this: everything you have heard, everything you have realized, must now become action, not someday, not when it's convenient, now. Because wisdom that is not applied becomes weight. It clutters the soul. It turns potential into pressure. You are not meant to collect truth like trophies. You are meant to live it. And the moment you begin to live with clarity, when your actions are in alignment with your identity, your values, and your purpose, your life begins to multiply. This is not philosophy. This is structure. Because clarity is not just an emotion, it is a decision, a discipline, a lifestyle. And when you choose it, really choose it, you begin to walk with a power that few ever touch. Not because you are better, but because you are aligned. So let me be direct. You know enough. You've heard enough. Now the question is, will you move? Will you take what's been spoken and carve it into the foundation of your life? Or will you return to the old pattern, the old noise, the old confusion that has stolen your time for far too long? Clarity is not something you find, it is something you build, brick by brick, thought by thought, action by action, and the structure you build will either carry you or collapse beneath you. But that choice is yours. You are not waiting on life. Life is waiting on you, and every delay is not a lack of opportunity. It's a reflection of unclear identity, unresolved emotion, or unfocused direction. But you now have the tools. You now have the mirror, and what you do next reveals everything. Let's make this practical. In the next 30 days, choose one area of your life to bring into full spiritual clarity. Just one. It might be your relationship with money. It might be your time. It might be your self-worth. It might be your purpose. But choose it. Name it. Write it. Declare it. Then begin to strip away every thought, habit, and story that contradicts it. This is the work. And it is sacred, because every time you remove what is false, you reveal what is true. And truth, once revealed, cannot be unseen. It becomes your compass, your standard, your mirror. And that mirror shows you not just who you are, but who you've always had the potential to become. But you must be consistent. Clarity is not a burst. It's a rhythm. It's not built in hype, it's built in habits. Habits of thought, habits of speech, habits of attention. And as you refine those habits, your clarity sharpens, your awareness heightens, and your energy becomes clean. You stop attracting drama. You stop inviting chaos. You start living in alignment, and everything begins to shift. This is not about perfection, it's about precision. You are not aiming to become flawless. You are aiming to become faithful to your calling. And faithfulness creates favor. It magnetizes opportunity, because the world recognizes consistency, and the universe responds to commitment. Let's ground this journey with a final declaration, a spiritual contract, not just for today, but for the next season of your life. Write this below. Say it aloud. Memorize it. Etch it into your soul. I am done with noise. I walk in spiritual clarity. I attract wealth through peace, purpose, and power. Say it again. Let it echo. Because you are not speaking wishful words. You are activating identity. And identity is the root of reality. You do not get what you want. You get what you are, and you are now becoming someone new. someone intentional, someone clear, and clarity will carry you farther than chaos ever could. You see, most people will never know the peace of walking in alignment. They will hustle, they will chase, they will try to impress, but they will never feel what it's like to wake up every day with stillness in the soul and certainty in the steps. That is what you are building now. Not just wealth, but wealth without anxiety. Not just progress, but progress without performance. This is the hidden richness. This is the real success. And it is not for the few. It is for the focused. Before we close, I want to leave you with one last reflection. Everything you've heard today, everything you've written, commented, declared, is a seed. But seeds don't grow unless they are nurtured. Revisit these truths often. Let them soak into your consciousness. Let them become the background music of your life. And when the world grows loud again, and it will, you will have something stronger than noise. You will have clarity. And clarity is a fortress. It is a weapon. It is a light that no darkness can overcome. So what now? Now you choose. Do you continue with intention or return to the default? Do you protect this state of being or let it be a momentary motivation? Do you take one aligned step or sink back into the loop? The choice is sacred because it determines whether this message becomes memory or momentum. And if you're truly ready to live with clarity, then take action now. Comment your declaration. Share this message with someone who needs it. Save it. Return to it. And build your future, not in confusion, but in power. And if this series has moved you, if you've found strength or stillness or strategy within it, I ask you, share it, like it, pass it forward. Let this be the start of a ripple effect. Not for me, but for the many who are one message away from unlocking the clarity that changes everything. You now hold the key. Use it well, build wisely, and walk boldly into the life that was waiting on your alignment all along.